Hey guys, tonight we step into the hush of a medieval morning just before the sun warms the thatched rooftops of your village. There's a softness to the fog as it clings to the fields, and you're still drowsy from sleep, fingers chilled as they fumble for your apron. You hear birds before you see them. A kettle murmurs over a fire. The air smells of earth and bread and ash. You stretch your arms toward the day. It's quiet, familiar. Nothing feels strange until hooves cut through the stillness. You hear them before you see them, horses galloping hard fast, not from your village but toward it, toward you. You probably wouldn't survive doing this back in the day, because in this world, safety is a moment-to-moment illusion. You think you're nobody important, and yet that won't save you. That morning, your life is about to become someone else's property. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And feel free to comment where you're watching from and what time it is where you are, and if your day was full of deadlines and noise. Take this time to forget it all. Let your mind wander, float, and dream a little. This story isn't urgent. It's just here for you to enjoy and rest alongside. May your sleep be deep and your dreams be lovely. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The horses don't slow when they reach your lane. They trample through your garden. Men in dark cloth leap down before you can run, though you do try to run. Of course you do. But your feet are bare and theirs are armored. You scream, someone else screams. Then a hand covers your mouth. You're not special. That's what you keep thinking over and over. I'm not special. I don't know anything. They must be looking for someone else. But no one corrects them. No one explains. You're dragged by the wrist. Your knees scrape the frost-bitten ground. And your house, your little house, is already fading into the mist behind you. You're not even allowed to cry. One of the men slaps you when you try. Quiet now, he says. Property doesn't speak. The cart they toss you into is made of cracked wood and smells of mold and cabbage. You're not alone. 2 others are already inside, a young boy, no older than 10, and a woman far older than you, eyes empty. She doesn't look at you, doesn't speak, just breathes. In, out, like she's done this before. The boy's lips are chapped. He tries to touch your hand just once. You let him. That small contact feels like the only thing in the world that still makes sense. Your wrists are tied. Rough rope burns your skin as the cart begins to roll. You bump against the woman. She doesn't flinch. The forest swallows the road. Trees lean in on either side, like they're trying to hide what's happening from the sun. But nothing hides for long in this world. Birds scatter. Somewhere a fox slinks away. You don't know how far you travel. You lose track of time. Hunger replaces fear. Then exhaustion replaces both. The boy begins to cry. No one stops him. No one stops you when tears slip down your own face, not from your eyes, but from your memory. Your mother's hands in your hair. Your sister's silly song. The goat you bottle-fed as a girl, gone. When you wake, your mouth tastes like blood and metal. Your legs are numb. You hear shouting. The cart has stopped, and there it is, the place where people become things. A marketplace, loud, filthy, wide open to the sky. There are pigs and goats. There are children with bruises. There are men with coins. And there is you, just you, unnamed, unowned, but not for long. They pull you out roughly. You stagger. Someone shoves a rag into your mouth to quiet your screaming. The boy beside you is taken one way. The older woman disappears another. You are left alone. The crowd circles. You hear laughter, not the joyful kind, the cruel kind. One man pokes your ribs. Another yanks your arm. Strong back, he says. Quiet mouth. Might last a year. You want to disappear, but the sun is watching. The ground is solid, and the rope around your wrists has no mercy. Someone pays. You never see their face, only the hand gloved in dark leather, holding out silver coins that clink like bells of doom. You are not asked your name. You are not given a choice. A mark is drawn on your wrist. It burns. Belongs to House Everdell, someone says. And just like that you do. Later in the corner of a cramped tent, you whisper to yourself a name your own. You say it again and again, under your breath like a prayer, because historians still argue whether people in your position ever manage to keep their identities, or whether after enough days past the memory of self faded entirely. But you won't let yours go. Not yet. Not tonight. The straw beneath you smells of old rain and animals. You wake with stiffness in your back and the sting of rope still fresh on your wrists. The tent overhead blocks the early light, but not the noise vendors are shouting chickens, clucking coins, clinking boots, thudding through mud. You're in the center of it all. The market. Not a market for food, not for bread or eggs or wool. This one is quieter in some corners, more hushed, more watchful. People don't haggle aloud here. They speak in mutters and nods. Because what's being sold isn't fruit, it's people. You try to sit up. A man notices. Don't stand unless you're told, he mutters. You freeze. Your name feels distant again, as though it no longer belongs to you. You repeat it silently. You say it in your mind with every breath. But already it feels more like a word you once knew than something that is yours. A woman nearby is already being examined. Her arms are lifted, her teeth checked, her hair yanked. A buyer walks around her like she's a side of beef. She doesn't look at anyone. Her eyes stare past the tents toward the sky as if remembering clouds. They take her away. Then it's your turn. You're pulled up by the arm. Two men inspect you. One rubs your shoulder, roughly testing your muscle. One lifts your chin and says, "Too soft." The other says, "Give her 2 weeks on grain, and hard labor we'll see." They move on, but more come. There's no privacy here, no dignity. You want to cover your chest, you want to speak, but your voice is gone, not from fear, but from the knowledge that no one is listening. An older woman stands beside you. Her hair is mostly gray, but her arms are thick and scarred. You whisper, just barely. Does it always happen like this? She answers without looking at you. Worse sometimes. You don't ask anything more. Children run past giggling. They aren't for sale. Not yet. Their parents hold them close. Then one of them points at you and asks Mama, "Why is that lady tied?" The mother doesn't answer. She pulls the child away as if your existence is shameful to even notice. You remember what it's like to have your hand held like that. There's a pause in the air, like the market takes a breath. A carriage pulls in. This one is different. The wheels are clean. The fabric gleams. The horses are brushed. The man who steps out wears silver buckles and green velvet. A hush spreads as he walks. Someone calls him Master Everdell. You don't know why your stomach twists, but it does. He stops before you. He says nothing, just nods. And a bag of coin is exchanged without touch, without word, without hesitation. You are purchased, not spoken to, not named, not asked, just purchased. A small metal tag is fastened to your belt. It bears a symbol you don't recognize, a bird inside a circle. Someone says, it's the crest of House Everdell. That symbol will now speak for you more than your own voice. The journey begins before you realize what's happening. You're lifted into a smaller cart, no longer the transport cart, but one that belongs to a house. There are cushions, but they don't comfort you. You sit straight wrists still bound. The man doesn't ride with you. He rides ahead as if his purchase were no more emotional than buying a sack of flour. The trees blur. The road curves. You pass a field full of white sheep, their wool glowing in the dusk. And for the first time, you feel nothing. Not fear, not sorrow, just nothing. The driver mumbles to himself. You catch the name Lady Everdell once or twice. You hear him spit when he says it. She'll rip her to pieces, he mutters, shaking his head. You don't know what he means. You don't want to know. The sun sets behind the hills, just as the cart lurches to a stop. You're told not to speak. You're told to kneel before the gate. You do. The manor is tall, but cold gray stone, veined with moss towers without banners, windows like eyes that never blink. Someone opens the door. You are led inside. It's not your home, but it is now your world. The woman who meets you is not what you expected. Lady Everdell is young, barely older than you, with tightly braided hair and gloves made of soft deer leather. Her voice is high and sweet, but her eyes are sharp. She walks around you once, says nothing. Then she leans in and says, "What's your name?" You answer, quietly, hopefully. She leans closer. "I don't care," she whispers. "Whatever it was, it's mine now." You sleep that night on straw beside the fire in the servants' hall. No blanket, no pillow. You hold your knees close to your chest and whisper your name again, just once, before it disappears into the smoke of the hearth. And historians still argue whether women like you ever left behind any trace, not a name, not a grave, not even a footnote. But you're still here, aren't you? You wake before the fire dies. Your body is stiff. The floor is cold. Your back aches in new places. Your neck won't turn right, and your legs are still sore from the cart. It takes a moment to remember where you are. Then the crackle of the hearth, the smell of stone, and the chill of the manor walls bring everything back. You're not home. You're not free. You're in House Everdell now. And today, the chains are not on your wrists, but around your time, your silence, and your skin. A woman with a crooked back and arms like tree roots stands over you. She kicks your foot gently, then hands you a tin bowl of something gray and warm. Gruel, perhaps. You don't ask. You eat. The kitchen is not awake yet, but the house is. Doors creak open. Bells chime. Someone upstairs coughs 3 times in rhythm. A system a rhythm. You'll learn it all soon. Your first task is the stairs. Stone stairs, circular and uneven from cellar to tower, wrapped in ivy and shadows. You're handed a brush and told to scrub each step down to the bone. Knees only, they say. And don't miss the blood one. You look up. Blood. They don't explain. As you scrub, your hands tremble from cold water. Your knees begin to redden. You find spots you missed. You do them again. Hours pass. A rat watches you from the corner. You don't move. Neither does it. Eventually, it leaves. You envy its freedom. Later, you clean chamber pots, then polish iron, then carry buckets from the well 20 trips before noon. Your shoulders burn, your fingertips crack. You smell like ash and vinegar and sweat, and yet the lady's maid scowls as she passes, muttering, "Smells like a goat. Scrub harder." You don't speak back. You've learned. Midday brings a short pause. You're fed a crust of bread and a handful of dried peas. You chew slowly, letting the time stretch. Another girl, barely 13, sits across from you. She stares, then whispers. She likes to hit with the riding crop. For fun, you nod once. You understand. She doesn't smile. No one smiles here. That afternoon, you're assigned to the sewing room. Not to sew, but to sweep. The floor is scattered with thread pins and scraps of lace. Some of it is beautiful fabric you've never seen in your village. Silk from Venice, velvet from Bruges. You dare to touch one piece, and Lady Everdell appears. She moves like a cat, quiet and sudden. She stands over you and picks up the same fabric. "This," she says softly, "was meant for a noble wedding gown." She lets it fall to the floor. Now it's just rags like you. Then she smiles and walks away. You don't cry. You can't. You haven't earned the privacy for that yet. The walls of the manor are damp in some places. They sweat in the evenings, especially near the larder. You notice this while fetching kindling. One wall is oddly warm despite the season. You place your hand on it. It hums faintly. No one mentions it. Not yet. The other servants have names, but none use them freely. They refer to each other by roles: scullery stableboy runner, wet nurse. You become the one who came last week. That's your identity for now. At night, you sleep beside the fire again. A mat is brought this time. No pillow. The heat fades quickly. You curl your legs and remember what your bed used to feel like. Somewhere upstairs, the lady plays a lute. Badly. She sings off-key and sharp, but no one tells her. That night, you whisper again. Not your name, but a word. Free. Just that. Once, softly, and again free. Just to feel it in your mouth. There is a superstition whispered in the manor. If you say your real name 7 nights in a row, a spirit will come and offer you a choice: forget or escape. No one knows what happens after that. Historians still argue whether such beliefs helped enslaved servants keep a sense of self, or whether they were just illusions of control in a world that offered none. You decide to try it anyway. You whisper your name before sleep. 1 night down, 6 to go. Morning finds you folding linens in the eastern corridor, the long one with the blue window glass. You've come to expect Lady Everdell's footsteps, soft but sharp like fox claws on stone. But today she doesn't just pass you, she stops. And she watches. You bow your head, waiting for scolding or for silence. But she speaks. You stand oddly, she says. Crooked. That won't do. You straighten your back. No. Wrong still. She steps closer, places a single gloved hand on your shoulder, and pulls it down hard. There, she whispers. Better posture. For property. That's how her training begins, not with rules, but with tiny humiliations. She changes how you walk. No stomping. You are not a cow. How you stand. Elbows tight. You are not commanding anything here, even how you hand her a cup. With your right, always your right, do you want to insult me? With your filth. You learn her rules the way a tree learns wind through forced repetition and the quiet breaking of old habits. One afternoon, she invites you to stand at the corner of her writing desk as she pens a letter. It's not really an invitation. You're made to stand there until your feet burn from stillness. The quill scratches softly. The ink bottle smells like metal and mold. I write to the bishop today, she says aloud. He has a new collection of sacred bones. He wants me to see them. You nod. You don't know what's expected. She looks at you. Speak when I speak to you. Yes, my lady, you say quietly. She pauses. What do you think of sacred bones? You freeze. What do you think? You barely even know what sacred means anymore. I have never seen bones like that. She smiles. A small one, sharp, cold. Good. It means you are still ignorant. I prefer them that way. That evening, you are summoned again. She shows you her jewelry. She says, look but don't touch. You look. Then she opens a chest and takes out a single black glove. This, she says, is from my mother. She trained me, you know. She turns it over in her hand. She once locked me in the cellar for misplacing a candle. 3 days. No light. You don't speak. She looks at you again. I expect the same obedience from you as I gave her. Then she hands you a small book. No title. Leather bound. It smells like old beeswax and dust. Copy the symbols on page 7 into the air. Memorize them. Do not ask what they mean. They are holy. You nod. The symbols look like nothing you've ever seen. Curved lines dots tiny stars. You draw them with your finger again and again in the air. And again and again. Until she says, stop. And you stop. You realize that the lady doesn't want help. She wants choreography. Every gesture from you is a performance, and she is both choreographer and critic. You practice walking exactly 3 paces behind her. No more, no less. You learn which candle she likes lit at twilight, which chair to place her fur, on which comb to offer after she's ridden in the cold. You memorize her moods by the sound of her heels on stone. One morning she calls you Little Shadow. You don't know if it's praise or cruelty. You nod anyway. You are not the only one she trains. A boy named Darren brings her letters from the town. She slaps him for being late, then rewards him with honey for crying only once. You see how she watches people, how she bends them like candle wax left near the fire. One day she holds your face in her hands. You've forgotten how to blink, she says with delight. Excellent. You still say your name at night. 4 nights now, whispered into your straw mat with lips barely moving. But each night it sounds less like a name and more like a question, like a word you overheard once but couldn't translate. Sometimes you whisper it with your eyes closed. Sometimes you forget the first syllable. At the hearth, the elder servant Marta sits beside you. She doesn't talk much, but tonight she offers you a scrap of boiled beet and says, "You speak less than most." That's good. She watches the talkers first. You nod. Marta leans back. She used to have a sister. Didn't survive. They say the lady still hears her voice. You look up. Do you think she ever dreams of freedom, you ask? Marta shrugs. She doesn't dream. She collects things, people, silences, and then she trained you faster than most. It isn't a compliment. It's a quiet warning. The rules grow stranger. You are told to turn away whenever she speaks of her brother. Never meet my eyes when I say his name. You are told to leave exactly one spoonful of broth in her bowl. Always one, no more, no less. You are told to ring the bell only after the crow calls. If there is no crow, you must imagine one. These are the rhythms of this house, she says. To disobey them is to unravel it, and historians still argue whether such rituals were deliberate acts of psychological control in medieval households, or whether they were simply inherited madness passed down like jewelry embroidered into power. Whatever the truth, you no longer question. You just count spoons and wait for the imagined crow. The bucket is heavier than it looks. Your fingers ache before you even reach the stairs. The handle bites into your palm, and the water sloshes cold onto your bare feet. But you don't stop. You don't dare. It's scrubbing day. The corridor outside the drawing room stretches long and unforgiving, lined with slate tiles and one cracked mosaic of a lion with missing teeth. You are expected to clean every inch of it on your knees, with your back bent, with no sound louder than the brush on stone. You begin before dawn. It's strange how quickly your world becomes smaller. Your world used to have hills, seasons, markets, skies that changed color. Now it's bristles, bruises, tiles, splinters. The only weather you know is the wind that sneaks in through the cellar doors. The only sunlight you feel is whatever spills through a half-cleaned window before you're told to move away from it. Scrub, rinse, wring, repeat. Your knees are raw, now little pink islands in a sea of gray. Your shoulder locks sometimes, and when it does, you learn to switch hands. Your fingers crack. One starts to bleed. You hide it by wiping on your apron. You lose track of time in rooms like this, not because they're peaceful, but because they demand every part of your attention. And when your body hurts enough, your mind stops wandering. You think less. You remember less. You forget the smell of your mother's soup. You forget the pattern on your old tunic. You forget what your sister's laugh sounded like when she tried to whistle and failed. You forget your name, but only for a moment, and then you say it again quietly. That's 5 nights now. The lady walks past once. She says nothing, but you feel her eyes. She returns an hour later, still nothing. Then again, as you polish the carved leg of a side table. This time she speaks. You move like you've been doing this for years. She smiles faintly. Some are born for it. You don't respond. She doesn't expect you to. The afternoon brings more buckets. This time, the great hall. The fireplace alone takes 40 minutes just to wipe down. The soot clings like regret. You scrub harder than you should. The cloth tears. You use your sleeve. No one notices. Other servants pass by. Some older, some smaller. They avoid your eyes. They've learned, too. There's a rhythm to it all, not just in your limbs, but in how you fade. You begin to move in ways that don't attract attention. You learn to enter rooms like a shadow and leave before your presence is remembered. You learn to hold your breath during arguments above stairs. You learn that surviving isn't just about strength. It's about erasure. One evening, the lady asks for a foot bath. You kneel before her warm water in a copper basin. She lets her toes rest in the steam, sighing in contentment. Do you ever miss your village? She asks suddenly. You freeze. It's a trick. It has to be. Still, you answer carefully. Sometimes, my lady. She stares down at the water. Do you think they miss you? You pause again. No, my lady. She smiles. Correct. And then, almost kindly, no one remembers people like you. That's the blessing of your kind. You leave no scars on the world. You return to the scullery, alone. You sit on a sack of flour and stare at your hands. They don't look like your hands anymore. They're darker from sun and soot, covered in tiny cuts, blistered in odd shapes. You clench them once, just to feel something that's yours. The sound of wind outside reminds you it's nearly night again. You still say your name. This time you whisper it into the dark corner behind the oven. The mice hear it. Maybe that's enough. You dream of stairs, endless ones. Each time you scrub them in the dream, they grow longer. You never reach the top. The next day you scrub the same hallway again. Not because it's dirty, but because Lady Everdell says perfection doesn't stay. It must be redone. She walks past in embroidered slippers, dragging her finger along the baseboards. She inspects your work like a bishop, inspecting relics, and then she moves on. You imagine planting something here, just once. A small violet beneath the stairs, a stolen onion sprouting near the well. Anything alive, but nothing grows where hands like yours are buried in soap and silence. And historians still argue whether the endless labor of medieval servants was designed purely for necessity or for quiet punishment, a way to erode memory identity and rebellion through repetition. You know the answer. You live it every day. You find the door by accident. It's late. The hall is empty. The candelabras are low, their flames whispering more than burning. You're carrying a basket of dried herbs toward the apothecary room, though you're not allowed inside, only to leave things just outside the threshold. Your arms ache from work. Your mind hums with fog, and your feet guide you out of habit. But you take a wrong turn, down a corridor you don't recognize, one that smells different. Old wood, dust, and something warmer like parchment left too close to a fire. You pause, breathe. No one sees you, and that's when you notice it. A faint crack in the wall, too thin for a door, too deliberate to be part of the stone. You set the basket down, run your fingers over the seam. It's smooth, not jagged. The grain of old oak, faintly worn. You press gently. It clicks, just once, and swings inward. Behind it is a passage barely wide enough to walk through. No candles, no torch sconces. Just the smell of centuries and silence. The kind of silence that remembers things no one else does. You hesitate. You shouldn't be here, but you are. And now you're stepping forward because curiosity is the only luxury they forgot to beat out of you. The passage twists. Cobwebs cling to your hair. Your foot knocks something metal. It clinks and rolls away into darkness. You don't chase it. You count 5, 6, 7 paces, then stop. There's something carved into the stone. It's hard to see, but your fingers trace it. A shape, a symbol, a circle with a line through it. And another, a bird. No wings or flames. You can't be sure, but you press your palm flat against it. And something inside you, something old, something that still remembers the color of your childhood door, responds. You sit right there on the cold floor, and you breathe. It becomes your hiding place. You return to it in secret, not every night, but often enough that the darkness begins to feel familiar, not frightening. You bring nothing with you, no candles, no scraps of food, just yourself and your name. You say it aloud here, fully, boldly. It echoes. You don't know if anyone hears, but the walls don't punish you. They hold it like a promise. One day you carve it, your name, in tiny, careful strokes, using a bent pin you found near the laundry room, letter by letter. It doesn't look perfect, but it's yours. The stone resists at first, then yields. Your fingers ache, but your spirit doesn't. This is the first thing you've made in months. Not cleaned, not carried, not copied, made. You sleep better that night, even though your mattress is thin and the wind howls through the chimney cracks, even though your fingers are cut, even though your knees still burn, because somewhere in this house, hidden behind dust and old mortar, your name now exists. A small defiance, a whisper made solid. The next day, Lady Everdell asks why you smile. You don't realize you are. You bow quickly and say, I was remembering a joke. She narrows her eyes. There are no jokes in this house, she says. And she leaves. You return that night again. Bring a small piece of string and tie it around one nail in the wall your second mark, the beginning of a language only you speak. You wonder if others before you used this space. The walls feel known, not clean, not forgotten, lived in. There are faint scratches you didn't make, an old dried berry in the corner, a bit of frayed cloth under a rock. You are not the first. You may not be the last. You begin to breathe differently now, not freely, but deeper. Your tasks feel lighter, not because they are, but because you've placed part of yourself elsewhere. A secret stored like a lamp in a closet. A piece of you that no one can touch. One night, Marta catches you returning. She doesn't speak, just looks at you, long, hard, then nods once. Not approval, recognition, and says, just don't leave anything behind they can use against you. You nod back. Neither of you says what they means, but you both know. The house feels different after that. Not warmer, not kinder, but less complete. Like you found an angle it didn't mean to show you. You feel it watching you, the walls, the floorboards, even the tapestries. But now you watch back. Historians still argue whether the hidden spaces in medieval manors were used for secrets, for smuggling, or simply for superstition. But to you, it is not a theory. It is a sanctuary, and inside it, your name lives like a candle that no one else can see. The baby won't sleep. You're not told why he was handed to you, only that the wet nurse is ill, the lady refuses to be disturbed, and someone must keep the infant quiet through the night. You cradle him in the dimmest corner of the servants' hall, beside the hearth that barely breathes anymore. He's swaddled tight-face red from screaming fists clenched like tiny protest banners. You rock him, slowly, then faster, then slower again. Nothing works. He cries with his whole body, like his lungs are trying to claw their way out. The sound presses against your ears, against your bones, until you feel as if the entire manor will crack from the weight of his noise. You try humming, but your throat is dry. Your voice is a stranger. Still, you force a sound from your lips, a tune you once knew, your mother's lullaby. You can't remember all the words, but the melody worn soft by time floats out like smoke from old ash. The baby stirs. He doesn't stop crying, but he pauses, listens, then cries again, quieter now. The fire groans as the last log collapses. You tuck him tighter against your shoulder and pace in slow circles. The stone floor is cold on your bare feet. The chill creeps up your calves, but you keep walking. You hum again and again. Each time it comes a little easier. By the fourth round, the melody is yours again. Still broken, still incomplete, but real. And he finally sleeps. You sit against the wall, his small weight heavy with trust. You don't know his name. No one told you. You don't ask. But in this moment, he's just a child. Not noble, not heir, just soft skin and fluttering breath. You run a finger over his forehead. For once, no one tells you to stop. Sleep does not come for you, but peace does, a quietness deeper than silence. You close your eyes and feel the rise and fall of his chest against yours. For the first time in months, someone needs you not as a tool, or a servant, or a shadow, but as warmth, as comfort. Then the door creaks. Lady Everdell enters. You stand instantly bowing your head. She looks at the baby, then at you. He's asleep. She steps closer. Her slippers make no sound on the stone. She lifts his blanket slightly, checks his face, his breath, the curve of his lips. Then she lowers it again. Her voice is soft, but not warm, never warm. You must have had one of your own, she says. You freeze. You don't answer, because the truth is, you did. A sister's child, raised like your own after the pox took her. A small boy who laughed at frogs and called you Amma. You remember his weight, lighter than this one. You remember his fever, hotter than this room. You remember the moment he stopped breathing, and how quiet your village was the next morning. Lady Everdell speaks again. You have a way with the little ones. I'll remember that. And then, without another glance, she leaves. The candle sputters. The baby stirs but does not wake. You sit again, and now the silence feels wider, as if a space in you opened up long closed, and the wind has finally found its way in. When the sun rises, you're still holding him. The wet nurse returns pale and coughing. She takes him wordlessly, leaves without thanks. You rub your eyes, stand slowly, and return to the chores of the day, peeling roots, sweeping ash, scraping hardened bread from bowls. But your hands move with something extra now. Not hope, not pride, but memory. That night, you return to the hidden passage. Trace your name on the wall again with your finger. Then next to it, you add a small shape, a curled line, a crescent, a cradle. You don't know why, but it feels right. Historians still argue whether enslaved women in noble households were ever allowed to keep records of their own lives, or if all traces of their humanity were deliberately erased. You leave your trace in dust and scratches and lullabies, and that's something no inventory can undo. The kitchen is louder than any chapel. It hums and clatters, spits and sizzles. Iron pots hiss, knives slap against thick wood, and fire pops with a rhythm that fills every corner. The heat is relentless. Even in winter, sweat collects at the base of your neck before noon. You work here now, not always, but often enough to know which stones on the floor are cracked, which pans burn too quickly, and which corner the mice favor at dusk. Your job is simple: chop, carry, stir, clean. Don't taste. Never taste. One girl did just a slice of pear left too long in the sun. The cook slapped her hard enough to make her nose bleed, then made her mop the floor with her own apron. She didn't eat again that day. But the kitchen holds more than food. It holds voices. And in the space between clatter and commands, something slips through whispers. They don't look at you when they speak, the older servants, but they know you listen. A woman with a missing tooth speaks to the pot, not to anyone in particular. They say the lady's first husband was buried under the herb garden. Too much wormwood, not enough love. A man grinding barley murmurs, another child's coming, not hers, not the Lord's, just someone else's. You didn't hear it from me. A girl no older than 15 whispers while slicing onions. Last spring, one of the girls vanished after moonrise. Just gone, like steam off the pot. You don't reply. You stir the soup, chop the roots, and listen. Because here in the kitchen, where the manor's walls can't hear you, truth has a smell. It's not clean, not pure, but it's real. Marta speaks the least. But one day, while gutting fish, she mutters, "There's a door in the cellar no one uses. If it ever opens, don't go through." You glance at her. She doesn't look up. The cookmaster Doff is a bear of a man, with hands like hams and a voice like a falling cabinet. But even he pauses sometimes, eyes flicking toward the doorway when the bell rings upstairs. He growls under his breath. Nobles eat like pigs and expect angels. Then he shouts for more salt. You bring it. The rhythm of the kitchen is punishing. One mistake and the whole meal falls out of sync. The fire burns uneven. The sauce curdles. Someone gets blamed. Usually you, but sometimes not. Sometimes the wrong girl is hit, and the rest of you watch in silence. Not because you agree, because you survive. One morning, the lady herself steps into the kitchen. Everything stops. Knives freeze midair. Flour halts mid-pour. Voices vanish like steam. She walks to the bread oven, runs one gloved hand along the edge, sniffs, then turns and says, "Tomorrow I'll be dining with a guest, one of rank. I expect a roast that remembers its own name." Then she leaves. Everyone exhales. When the kitchen breathes again, a boy named Lou says she used to cook once when she was a child. Another girl replies, "With poison." Everyone laughs, too loud, too fast, to hide the fear. You stay late that night, scrubbing pans that haven't been touched in weeks. Your hands are black with soot, your nails cracked. But you don't mind, because tonight, something else is happening. Lou speaks again, quieter this time. "You found a door, haven't you?" You freeze. Don't look at him. He continues, hands busy with a sack of oats. You walk different, like your thoughts are somewhere else. You say nothing, but he grins anyway. "Don't worry. We all find one eventually." He nods toward the far pantry. "Mine's behind the sack of salt. A gap in the wall. I leave apple seeds there, just to remember." You finally glance up. He winks once, and that's all. That night, you carve a tiny apple into your hidden wall, next to your name, next to the cradle. A new symbol, a connection. You are not alone. Not entirely. Historians still argue whether kitchens in medieval estates were spaces of resistance or merely pressure valves, places where those without voices exchanged stories in whispers. But here in the heat and the noise and the scent of onions and fear stories are currency. You spend nothing. You save everything. Snow comes early that year, not the light dusting that melts by noon. This is real snow, thick, heavy silencing. It falls in sheets that hide the paths and erase the sky. The manor's roof disappears into white. The trees bend under weight they didn't ask for, and the cold creeps into everything, into the walls, into your bones, into your breath. The cellar is your punishment, not for anything specific, just for being near when the lady's dog knocked over her ink. She doesn't shout. She simply says, "Take her to the root cellar." She may stay there tonight. No fire, no blanket, no protest. You're led down narrow stairs by Marta. She doesn't speak. She lights a candle, places it in your hand, and closes the door behind you. You hear the latch click, then silence. The cellar is deep, stone-walled, earth-floored, and colder than you thought anything could be. Shelves line the walls, stacked with turnips, jars of goose-fat, sacks of barley bottles, sealed with wax. There's no room to stand tall, no chair, no straw, just cold. And you huddle in the corner, arms around your knees, the candle flickering with each shallow breath. You whisper your name, not just once, over and over, faster, louder, then softer, until your breath fogs your fingers and your lips feel stiff from repetition. That's night 6. Your body shivers in waves, long stretches of stillness broken by sudden tremors. You remember a story your uncle told once of a man who froze to death while dreaming of summer. You wonder if you'll do the same. The candle dies. It doesn't flicker out, it just stops. A final breath, then darkness, complete. Time slows in the dark. You think of the baby you held, of Lou and the apple seeds, of the secret symbol on the wall that only your hands know. You think of heat of soup of voices, of a song your mother sang when the first frost came. You try to hum it. Your lips don't move. You must have slept because you wake to something soft, something real, a small blanket, rough wool, smelling of onions. Someone slipped it under the door. You don't know who, but you clutch it like a lifeline, wrap it around your frozen toes, bury your face in it and weep quietly, so quietly, because kindness is the loudest thing in a place like this. Morning arrives with footsteps. The door creaks open. Not Marta. Lou. He blinks at you once. Breakfast is over, he says. But there's still broth. You nod. He doesn't smile, but he leaves the door open behind him. The stairs back up feel longer than before. The heat of the kitchen makes your eyes sting. You don't cry. You hold the bowl of broth in both hands. Let the warmth fill your palms before your stomach. Then slowly sip. No one scolds you that day. No one speaks much at all. The snow has covered the world, and inside the manor people are quieter, slower. Even the lady stays in her chamber. You clean windows with a rag that smells faintly of lavender and mold. The light outside is blue-gray, endless. That night, you return to your secret passage. It takes longer in the snow. You leave wet footprints, but you reach the wall. Place your hand on the mark. Say your name again. 7 nights. A full cycle. No spirit arrives. No miracle. But something changes. Inside, your name feels like yours again. Not perfect, but not lost. You carve one more shape, a star, not because you believe in wishes, but because it reminds you of light, and that sometimes is enough. Historians still argue whether moments of mercy and servitude were signs of shared humanity or accidents in a system designed to erase it. You don't know what the blanket meant, but you know it saved something in you. And in this house, that's a rare kind of survival. The tax collector arrives in the rain, not a gentle drizzle, but a pounding storm that turns the courtyard into mud and drowns the sound of everything except his voice. You hear him before you see him shouting for shelter, for dry cloth, for hot wine. His tone is sharp, laced with the kind of impatience that only comes from unchecked power. Lady Everdell receives him at the top of the stairs. You are standing just behind her head, bowed, holding the hem of her cloak to keep it from touching the floor. You're early, she says. You're late with payment, he replies. She doesn't flinch. His name is Sir Baron, but everyone calls him the Spider. Not because he's quiet, he isn't, but because he weaves trouble slowly, carefully, until you're stuck before you realize you've been caught. He's not large, but his presence is heavy. Rings on every finger, boots, always wet hair, slicked back with something too shiny to be honest. He smells like vinegar and boiled meat. He looks at you too long. That evening, you're assigned to serve him. Not Marta, not Lou, you. The kitchen prepares lamb and chestnuts. You carry the plates into the hall, one by one. He watches you, doesn't blink. His eyes drag over your arms, your hips, your mouth. He smiles, shows yellow teeth. You keep your gaze on the floor. You keep fine stock, he says to Lady Everdell, gesturing to you like a tool, like a coat rack. She's efficient, she replies, sipping wine. Pretty too, he adds. She doesn't respond. That silence is colder than snow. After the meal, you're told to clear the table. He stays seated. He lets his fingers brush yours as you collect the plates. You move faster. His boot taps the stone floor in rhythm. You feel him watching your back as you leave the room. Later in the scullery, Marta finds you wiping the same bowl for the third time. She doesn't ask. She just takes it gently from your hands and says, "Stay close tonight." You nod, but it isn't enough, because power doesn't ask permission, and silence doesn't protect you. That night, Sir Baron finds you in the hallway near the linen closet. He says nothing, just blocks your path. His smile is wider now. You clutch the folded towels tighter. Still efficient, he whispers. You turn your shoulder, step past him. He lets you, but his hand lingers too long on your arm as you pass. "Perhaps I'll request her," he says to the air. "Not to you, not for you. About you, like you are a tool, a goat, a price." The next morning, Lady Everdell is waiting at the stairwell. She's alone. She doesn't smile. Her voice is even. "Did he touch you?" You hesitate, then shake your head, because what answer is safe? She watches you, then says, "He'll be gone by noon." You don't know if that's comfort or warning. You return to work, quietly, and when he leaves, he winks once from the carriage, then spits in the courtyard. The snow melts where it lands. You return to your passage that night, but this time you don't carve. You don't whisper your name. You sit in the dark and breathe. Just breathe, because even a body is sacred when it survives being hunted. In the kitchen, no one speaks of him, but they move gentler, serve slower. Avoid your eyes, then meet them again. One girl leaves you half an apple under your pillow. You eat it in 2 bites. and cry after the second. Historians still argue whether noble women protected their servants from predatory men out of strategy sisterhood or selfish preservation. You don't know which reason saved you. You only know that she did, and that for now it's enough. The chapel smells of old wax and stone. You're there because no one else wanted to be. The priest's boy has taken ill, and the lady insists the candles still be lit, the altar cloth still cleaned, and the silence kept sacred. So they send you. You walk there before sunrise, basket in hand sleeves, rolled up feet bare against the cold flagstone. It's quiet, too quiet. Even the wind seems reluctant to enter. The chapel is tucked into the north wing, less visited, less polished. But the walls breathe history. Faded saints stare down from cracked plaster. Stained glass filters winter light into weak streams of color, blue and red and gold dancing like ghosts across the pews. You kneel and begin your work. The altar cloth is damp in one corner. You lift it carefully, hang it to air. The floor beneath it is etched with something faint, marks a shape that looks like a star inside a circle. It catches your eye, but you don't ask. You never ask. You light the candles one by one. 22, always 22. No more, no fewer. You've been told this twice. You count carefully. The 22nd candle, placed nearest the statue of Saint Eleonora, sputters as you light it, then flares, then holds steady. You step back. That's when it happens. The candle will not go out. Hours later, when you return with fresh cloth, it's still burning. All others have gone cold, but not that one. You press your lips together, try to blow gently. Nothing. You try again. Nothing. You check for drafts. None. You wait. It keeps burning. Marta finds you there. She watches the flame, crosses herself, murmurs, "Should have been you." You don't ask what she means. She leaves before you can. Word spreads. By afternoon, half the kitchen staff has whispered of it. By evening, Lou draws a flame next to your name on the pantry wall with a bit of chalk. You see it. Say nothing. That night, even Lady Everdell says don't get ideas. Saints don't bless girls like you, but the candle keeps burning. Day 2, day 3. It doesn't shrink. It doesn't flicker. It just lives. By the 4th day, even the lady avoids looking at it. She orders the priest summoned. He arrives in a hurry, robes half-wrung hands shaking. He examines the wick, sniffs the air, murmurs scripture, then announces, "It is either a miracle or a mistake." Lady Everdell hisses, "Then fix the mistake." You're told to leave the chapel. You do, but the priest doesn't. He stays in there a long time. When he leaves, he doesn't speak, just walks to the gate and doesn't return. That night, the door to your hidden passage is harder to open, as if the house itself has noticed you, as if the house has questions. You press your forehead to the wall and whisper, "I didn't ask for the candle," but the flame still burns in your memory. In the following days, servants watch you differently. Some kinder, some colder. One girl crosses herself when you pass. Another leaves a sliver of cake on your cot. You don't know what it means, but you don't throw it away. Lady Everdell calls you up. You kneel. She holds the base of a burned-out candle. Explain it. You remain still, silent. She throws it into the fire. Faith is for those with futures, she says. You have neither, but still, when you sleep, the warmth of that stubborn flame follows you. You dream of it, not as a candle, as a heartbeat. Slow, steady, alive. Historians still argue whether eternal candles in medieval chapels were real or simply stories meant to spark fear or wonder among the poor. You didn't ask for it, you didn't start it, but you were there. And sometimes that's enough to change how the walls remember you. You are sent to the study, the room no servant enters unless told, the room that smells of ink-dry parchment and something older books long closed but never truly forgotten. You're told to dust, only dust. No touching, no reading, no questions. Lady Everdell says wipe not wonder. You enter quietly, rag in hand. The door closes behind you with a sound like finality. Books line the walls, stacked from floor to ceiling, some bound in leather, some wrapped in cloth, some chained. Scrolls lie in baskets. Sealed letters sit in piles tied with ribbons. A fire smolders in the grate, faint and watchful. You begin with the window ledge. Work your way to the desk. You keep your eyes down, but the desk hums with presence. It holds papers, half-written pens, half-dipped a seal with the crest of Everdell bird in a circle staring unmoving, and a letter, unsealed. You don't read it, not fully, but your eyes catch fragments, words like confession, inheritance, containment. You stop yourself, turn away, breathe, return to the shelves. There is a cabinet in the corner, small, iron latched. You don't touch it, but you feel it watching. One scroll falls as you dust. You freeze, let it lie there. But curiosity grows like mold, slow, silent, inevitable. You glance around. No one. You pick it up, unfurled just a little. It's not in a language you know. The ink is brown faded. The symbols loop and curl, dancing like snakes. You don't understand it, but your fingers tingle as you hold it. You roll it back, place it perfectly, and continue. A letter slips to the floor from the edge of the desk. You kneel to return it, but pause. The wax seal is broken, the handwriting familiar. You've seen it before, on the cradle's tag, on the candle, on the mark inside your passage. The same hand. Your hand trembles. You open it. Just a crack. It's not addressed to the lady. It's addressed to a name you don't know. But the content, I saw her again. She is quiet, but the name remains in her. I have not told Eleonora. She suspects. You fold it quickly. Your breath catches. Who wrote this? Who saw you? Who knows? The door creaks open. You hide the letter behind a stack of books. It's Lou. He says nothing, just nods once. Then says fire needs tending. You nod back. He doesn't leave, only watches the shelf where you hid the letter, then turns and disappears. That night, you sit in your hidden hallway longer than usual. You don't carve anything new. You just sit, hands in your lap, breath slow, and you whisper, what do they know? The walls don't answer, but the silence feels different now. Not emptiness, tension, waiting. You begin to see things, not ghosts, not visions, just patterns. A symbol on the lady's ring that matches one in the scroll. A name half whispered in the kitchen that appears again on a wax seal. And always, that bird, that circle, always watching. You dream of letters, hundreds of them, falling like snow, covering you, filling your mouth, until you can't breathe, until all you know are the words. She remembers. Historians still argue whether literate servants in noble houses ever used their access to uncover secrets, or if knowledge simply made their chains heavier. You don't know if what you saw was meant for you, but you know you were meant to see it. And now you cannot unsee. Spring doesn't arrive all at once. It trickles in slowly through the cracks in the shutters, through the softening of the frost, through the first green shoots poking from the cracks in the courtyard stones. The manor is quieter in spring, as though it too is waking from a long and bitter sleep. You feel it in your shoulders first, the way the ache lessens just a little when you carry water from the well. You feel it in the way your breath doesn't fog in the morning, and in the way people begin to whisper again. Rumors grow like vines here, slow and tangling. The first comes from Lou. He says it as he tosses potato peel into the fire. They say the Duke in the South is raising a private army. You don't answer. Another rebellion? He adds more to himself than to you. Or another culling. Hard to say which. The kitchen fills with smoke and stories. She was seen, whispers one of the maids riding alone at night. They're burning letters in the east wing, says another. The priest who came about the candle never reached home. You carry these pieces with you, not because they make sense, but because they might. And sometimes might is enough to keep your thoughts alive. The lady becomes restless. She changes her hair 3 times in 1 week. She orders the drapes replaced, then thrown out, then hung again. She moves through the manor like a breeze, before a storm, not strong enough to break things, but sharp enough to disturb. She calls you to her chambers. You kneel. She stands at the window, staring at the mist lifting from the forest. Do you believe in prophecy, she asks. You pause. Say I don't know, my lady. She smiles faintly. Good. Those who believe are fools. Those who don't are dangerous. Later, she orders a room to be cleared, one long unused filled with dust and moths. No one asks why, but you see Lou sneak a glance toward you as he carries out a broken chair. Something is being prepared. You just don't know what. That night, in your hidden passage, you carve a new shape, a dagger, not for violence, for warning, for readiness. The wood is harder here. It resists, but you keep carving. You hear horses at dawn, not one, not two, many. Boots in the courtyard, voices too clipped to be servants. You aren't called that day. You clean in silence, but your ears stretch down every hallway, and what you hear is fear. By dusk, it's confirmed men from the south. Badges not of the king, but of someone else. The lady dines in her chamber that night, alone. You carry up her tray and find her at the fireplace. No books, no letters, just her and the flame. She says, without turning, people are coming who will ask questions. You will answer carefully. You bow. Of course, my lady. She turns. Her eyes are rimmed with red, but her voice is calm. You remember who you belong to, don't you? You nod, but deep in your chest, you no longer believe it. Downstairs, Lou whispers as he dries plates. There's talk of a breach, of houses falling, of lords being replaced. He doesn't say more, but he leaves something on your cot again. A folded scrap of cloth, inside a slice of dried apple, and a sliver of metal, a tiny file. No explanation, just the possibility. That night, you don't sleep. You sit by the hearth and stare at your hands, and wonder if escape looked like a door, would you recognize it? Historians still argue whether enslaved individuals sensed political shifts before they happened, or if they were simply swept along by them, unseen and unrecorded. But you feel it, in the air, in the bones of the walls, in the way the house is holding its breath. The visitor arrives without fanfare. No horns, no guards, no scroll of names read aloud. Just a single horse and a cloaked rider. He appears near dusk, When the shadows stretch long and soft, and the sky glows faint with the warmth of a day slowly forgetting itself, you are sweeping the front steps when he dismounts. He does not look at you, not at first. He speaks to the steward, hands over a small letter, wax sealed. Then just before entering, he turns and says your name, your real name. He doesn't shout it, doesn't question it, just says it, like someone remembering, like someone never forgot. You freeze. The broom tilts in your hands. Your breath catches on the edge of something sharp, and you stare, but he is already walking away, into the house, into her domain. You whisper your name that night, with new weight. The syllables feel heavier now, not just survival, not just resistance, recognition. Someone knows you. Still, the next morning he's still there. A guest, a noble maybe, or maybe not. He walks the halls like someone who owns nothing but fears, even less. Servants avoid him. The lady does not speak of him, but she watches, constantly. You are assigned to clean the guest quarters. You enter with a bucket and cloth, and there he is, sitting at the window. He doesn't startle, just nods. You used to chase rabbits in the orchard, he says. I remember your laugh, wild and sharp like geese in flight. You say nothing. You can't. He turns fully. His face is older now, lined, tired. But the eyes, they remember. You were taken at dawn, he says. They thought you were someone else. You nod slowly, then find your voice. I became someone else anyway. He smiles sadly. They buried you in the records, but not in memory. He reaches into his coat, hands you something, a brooch, tiny, wooden, shaped like a bird in a circle, but not the lady's crest. No, your family's mark, faded, worn, but real. You take it, hold it like a fragile egg. Why now, you whisper? Because there's change coming, he says, and names will matter again. He leaves that night. No dinner, no farewell, just gone, as if he had only come to return something, not an object. But you, the lady says nothing, but her silence is louder than any scream. She watches you as you work, as you carry plates, fold linen, tend candles, and that night she says, if someone gives you a name, you should be careful what it costs. You don't answer, but you know now. Your name has weight, not because she allows it, but because you remembered it long enough for someone else to return it. You carve it again that night, deeper, clearer, in your secret place, next to the cradle. The dagger, the apple, the star. You add the bird, and whisper, I was never gone. Historians still argue whether names were ever reclaimed by those lost to servitude, or whether they faded like ink on damp paper. But yours was spoken again by another mouth, and now it echoes through the walls like a bell. One morning you were gone. No screams, no chase, no alarm ringing from tower to tower. Just gone. They said later that your bed was made, that your shoes were still damp from the day before, that your apron was folded too neatly, as if placed by someone who knew they wouldn't be back to wear it. The hearth was cold, no footprints in the hallway, only the faint scent of lavender where you'd always passed in silence. Marta found your cot empty. She didn't speak, just sat for a long while beside the fire, and without looking up, whispered, she left the way we all dream of leaving. Lou checked the passage. He found the mark, the bird, the name, the star, and something new, a carved line that ran under it all. One single word, free. No one saw you ride out. No one saw a gate swing open. But some swear they heard footsteps in the snow before it melted. Others say they saw a figure by the well, looking up, not down. And someone claimed they found a brooch in the garden. A bird in a circle, but not the ladies. Not anymore. Lady Everdell never speaks of you. But once, weeks later, she calls for hot wine and stands for hours by the chapel's last candle. It won't light, no matter how many times she tries. She throws the matchbook into the fire, leaves without a word. The wax remains untouched. The manor goes on, with its cold stones, its secrets, its bruised rituals. But something has shifted. A ghost of your absence lingers in the corners. A gap where you once walked, now filled with memory instead of silence. Days pass, then weeks. One new girl arrives, young, thin eyes wide with fear. She's told to scrub the third staircase, to serve with quiet hands, to listen, not speak. But one night, while fetching water, she finds something. A passage, a carving, a name. She whispers it aloud, not because she knows what it means, but because it feels warm, familiar, like a secret left just for her. And elsewhere, far from House Everdell, along a muddy road that winds through trees and frost, a woman walks alone, her hair hidden beneath a hood, a bird carved into the hilt of a knife tucked at her side. She passes villages that do not know her, fields that do not call her back, and she hums a song with no words, but full of memory. She keeps walking, north perhaps, or east. It doesn't matter, because every step is hers, and no one owns her name now but her. Historians still argue whether any enslaved woman ever truly escaped, or whether stories of freedom were just that stories born of longing. But in the wall of a hidden hallway beneath a mark no one else understands, your name is still there, uncovered, unshaken, still waiting for the next pair of eyes brave enough to read it. Now the house is quiet. No bells ring. No footsteps follow. No breath is held in fear. You are far from stone walls and cold floors, far from names you weren't allowed to speak, far from places that tried to shape you into silence. Now there is only night and stillness and sleep. You walked through fire and frost, through shadowed halls and whispered stories. You carried more than water and wood. You carried your own name through memory, through darkness, through the narrowest path no one else could see. And now you've put it down, just for a moment, to rest, to exhale, to become soft again. There is no chain left on your wrist, no voice calling you back, only quiet wind, only stars above, only the warmth of knowing you lived. You mattered, so you chose. So let your breath slow, let your mind quiet. There's no need to return to that house tonight. Let it stay behind you, like a dream fading with the dawn. You are free now, not just in body, but in thought, in memory, in sleep. And there, under a gentler sky, you can finally rest. End of script. Thanks for letting us be part of your night. Sleep well, dream safe, and we'll see you in the next sleepy story.